How did porn originate and when did porn start? A lot of us have this perception that porn is a new era thing, right? Probably started with the advent of media a couple of years ago, probably in the 90s or in the 80s. No, I would want to shock you that according to history and data, from what I've been able to dig up so far, porn is roughly 4,000 plus years old. And what led me into actually doing this research is the fact that if you read Romans chapter 1, the first letter Paul wrote to Romans, as it were, if you read towards the latter end, you will see that he was addressing some issues: gay, lesbianism, lust, all of this. If you categorize it, it's all entered into that phase and of what we currently battle as porn addict, a chronic masturbator. And so I started digging. Whenever I read the scripture, I am a data freak, right? I started to dig, okay, why did Paul, writing to the Roman church, address the issue of this issue of sex and gay, lesbianism and everything? So I got to discover that there were four major parts where this issue of sexual issues, right, majorly was dominating as at that point, right, from 2,000 years earlier down to that point. And one of it was the ancient Mesopotamia, which is the modern day Iraq. They had a lot of erotic carvings, right, in those days, and that was the way to visualize porn content. Then you have ancient Egypt, you have Greece, you have India, you also have ancient Rome, not just Greece. So when Paul was writing to the Romans and he was addressing that issue there in Romans 1, I think from verse 20, from 20 downwards, that got me thinking. I started to dig into it. So I'll give you some few statistics, right? So in ancient Mesopotamia, which is the modern day Iraq, some of the earliest known erotic carving and text dates back as far as 4,000 plus years ago in that part. Now in ancient Egypt, particularly in the papyrus scrolls and art, like the Turin erotic papyrus, it depicted explicit sexual scenes, right? And in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, there were erotic art, sculptures, pottery, and even public imagery were common and culturally accepted. Then in ancient India, texts like the Kama Sutra or the Kama Sutra, which however it is pronounced, and the temple carvings, for example, the Khajuraho temples included detailed sexual imagery and teaching. Now, these were the first earliest form of sexual explicit content, which erupted, corrupted, and rewired the minds of men and women, right? And that was what I first found when I started digging into the origin of pornographic content, right? So porn did not originally explicitly originate from a particular country, right? But it had a recurring human phenomenon, right? And this phenomenon was found in these countries, as it were, spread across different cultures, explaining and showing different things. What changed over time was simple. It was just the mode of the creation and the distribution. So what technology did, or what media did, was technology and media amplified pornographic content, the reach, implications, and of course the repercussions. It's broken down into 4 to 5 stages. Well, I'll categorize it majorly as 4 major phase. The first one, which I wrote here, is the printing press, which mass-produced erotic books back in those days. And also the second stage was the photography, which was, I think this is roughly 19th century now, right? And this were consisting of majorly explicit images, as it were. And the third one is films. In the 20th centuries, film started. Of course, first it was private, right? Of course, a lot of countries have not put in laws that are allowed for pornographic stuff, right? So it was private, it was circulated to some units. It was more done like a court kind of stuff, right? Then the internet, which came in the late 20th century, gave global and instant access. And that was how pornographic content started. But I wanted to also really know what year was the industry established and what year was the pre-industry. So the late 1800s to early 1900s were the pre-industrial range of the pre-pornography industry, right? And we had erotic photographs and short films, right? We also had stage or stag films, as it was called then, right? Now, these were circulated secretly. It was not public, it was not accepted formally, right? It was not a regulated industry. Then in the 1960s to 1970s, which is roughly 50 plus years now, right, it became a major turning point for the pornographic industry or the porn industry, where sexual revolutions in the West and laws were relaxed in some countries, then porn moved from underground to becoming a semi-public available resources. So it was no longer just limited to some secret groups who were coming together to watch these things. It was no longer limited to just the sculptures, the erotic images you see, right? So it became an industry that was now in the public, and of course laws were relaxed. Some countries had allowed it. But the key moment was a release of a particular, I will call it demonic series or movie or whatever it will be called now, called Deep Throat in 1972. And this was where porn became widely known, and it started becoming discussed in the mainstream media. Now, why did I start digging into this origin of pornography? It's because most times we try to fight something we don't know about. When I was battling my porn addiction, when God was helping me, one of the things he made me see was the fact that this was bigger than I myself, thinking that it was just a weakness. Porn is not a weakness. Don't let people deceive you and tell you it's just a weakness. God sees it. It's a lie. That's the deception of the devil. Porn is not a weakness. 2, don't let anybody deceive you that porn is masturbating or watching pornography is healthy because it helps you release 2 or 3 times a week. It helps you avoid prostate cancer. That is a lie from the pit of hell. It causes damages. It never helps. All right. Now, back to our main focus. Now, why am I digging into the roots? We are currently working on a curriculum to help people recover from pornography. We are hosting a conference this year, October 1st, at the PornMann community. The PornMann community is live. You can go visit pornmann.com. It's a totally free entire community. Resources will be free, curriculums will be free, trainings will be free, conferences will be free. But we needed to start digging into this so that we could understand how far this thing really crept into the society. And you would notice that statistics shows that the pornographic adoption is skyrocketing in our age and time, especially with our own era. Am I still Gen Z? Well, let's say I should still be a Gen Z person, right? Yeah, right. So practically, it skyrocketed in our era, then the generation after ours, and most people would think that probably we were the most demonic, as it were, or the most corrupt. No, that's not the issue. The issue here is that the circulation started majorly in the mainstream media, in the internet space, in the 90s and in 1990s, especially in .com boom. The pornographic or adult industry was this first industry to actually facilitate online transactions, right? So they made it convenient for that age group. Now, don't forget that people that started consuming in that age group currently now, they are in their 70s and in their 80s. So in that group, those are the latest people now either going to their grave already dead, as it were. Now, the people who started seeing them do this are the generation before the Gen Z, which is the millennials before us. And those ones were buying the CDs, they were renting it. I remember seeing a lot of it when I was still very young, right? From different adults who buy CDs, and I'll meet them watching, and of course I would join them to watch. Now, in our era, it became much more circulative in the sense that almost one in every 10 young teenager, what am I even saying? 5 in let me get the statistics up. I don't want to just speak out of the top of my head. I like data. So according to statistics here, approximately 9 to 10 out of every 10 teenagers, about 95% have access to smartphones. So the reason why it is much more circulative, both in our era and the people that are coming behind us, is that porn is right in their hands. They don't need to go and buy a CD, hide in a room and play it. Access is right there in their hand. They don't need to grow up to become adults to be able to buy television or buy a DVD, a VCD player to play it. They could just borrow data, log into their phone, browse it out, and start consuming it. And this is where it starts from. It started like that with me, all right? I remember Sajem was the phone then, and I would access the internet then to get all of this content from different dark explicit sites, as it were. And that was how it became rooted in me. And over the years, it became not just an addict, it became a character, it became a lifestyle, it became a culture. I am sharing this to help us understand that we cannot in itself eradicate porn content in its entirety. Why? Because it's an industry. Except the government closes that industry, we can't. Even when they close it, there'll still be secret circulation. That's one. 2, we cannot by ourselves eradicates distributions and production, because again, it's an industry, and the way it is being distributed now is via smartphones, right? No matter the safety features you put in on your child's phone, they will find a way to get access to this content, or somebody somewhere else that the parent did not care that much to put this parental guardian setup on their phone, we expose them to it. And we as adults, of course, we are not putting those parental guidance or whatever it is on our phone. And you know, this recovery stuff of try to get weak without porn, you know, those things, you always relapse, you would always fall back to it. And that is why I'm bringing this is real talk now, right? So if this dilemma is looking at us right in the face, there is only one thing that can help us fight this. Okay, now I want to say one thing. There are a few things that can help us fight these things, right? So I'll give you what happens sequentially after all of this I've said. Now, when you start consuming porn, then you become an addict, right? Then you become a consistent user of this thing. What happens is that you start to withdraw from the community, you start to take out yourself from the everyday life, you become withdrawn, you like isolation, you like to stay on it, like to stay on your own. I'm not saying this because I read about it, right? Of course, during my recovery, I read a lot of things about porn addictions and stuff, but I'm saying this because 15 years I was hooked, so I can tell you what you are experiencing. And there is difference between when God wants you to prepare for a season and when it's your addictions that is making you hide or making you isolate yourself. And porn thrives in the fact that it withdraws you from natural social communication. So by default, it begins to give you satisfaction at social gatherings and sexual relationship which your partner should give you, right? So because of that, it rewires you to want to become a lone ranger. So it simply means that to fight porn, the first or one of the most effective first measures to put in place is a community of like minds who are on their track or on their way to becoming porn free or addict free, and also being in the community of those who have conquered it. So one of the books I read, surprisingly, is called Ego is the Enemy. I'm trying to bring that book out now. It's not an addiction book or anything. I was just reading it for a particular phase of my life, and he thought Ryan Holiday said something in this book, and in the book he made mention that when you are learning, I forgot, is it karate or taekwondo from the Japanese, his Japanese trainer or instructor told him that in life you need three set of people. You need those who are ahead of you, right? You need those who are on the same level with you, and you need those who are beneath you. So one is those who are ahead of you. Why? You need the experience, you need leverage, you need guidance, you need accountability. Those who are in your same level, you need competition, healthy competition. You need accountability, you need relativity, you need hunger, right? You need all of those. Now, those who are beneath you, those are the ones that make you not want to relapse, because they are putting the fire beneath you and they want to catch up to you, and because they look up to you, you need to improve the more. That is what the PornMann community is set to do. And like we explained in our previous video, the PornMann is an acronym of three words: porn, masturbation, the man doing all of this, and the new man. So porn is the root cause of all of this dysfunctionality, and that is why we are building a community that will help men break out in 2026. We are hosting a conference October 1st, 2026 in Lagos. We are planning towards that. If you run a rehabilitation center, you want to partner with us, we'd love that. If you want to sponsor this initiative, we'd appreciate that. If you would want to share resources, books that you read through that helped you, of course, why not, right? But again, in your journey to recovery, find a community. If you can't find one, if you are in a place where they discriminate or they make you look as if you are the one who has betrayed God by doing these things, PornMann community exists to accommodate you. We see you, we hear you, we feel what you feel, because we have felt it. We still have people who are feeling it, right? And that's why we are building this community. To simply join the community, visit pornmann.com, sign up with the Begin Your Journey on the homepage, or you can go to the event and register for the event ahead of time. We'll also add you to the community. And in the subsequent weeks, we'll begin to reach out as we build this community with a detailed program for recovery phase. And until then, my name is Inegben Stanley, and see you October 1st, 2026. Peace out.